This is going to be a bit of a shorter wrap up compared to normal because I didn't really read anything in March. That's a lie, I read a total of 7 books. 3 of those were in the last few days of the month because I was panicking because I hadn't read anything. However, even though I have only read 7 books in March, I have read 30 overall this year, so it does balance out to be 10 books a month, so I'm kind of happy with that. I just hope that April goes a bit better. As always, I'll start off with my statistics. I read 7 books, which added up to 2,881 pages. My average rating was 3.5, which is my best month so far this year in terms of enjoyability. I don't know what that says about me. In terms of genres, I read 3 thrillers, 2 fantasy books, 1 mystery book, and 1 contemporary book. I think the high amount of fantasy also affected my reading and how much I was getting through, but I don't think I read enough fantasy for it to have affected it that much. I think I was just slow at reading because I had a lot of stuff going on. For my ratings, I read 1 2-star book, 1 3-star book, 3 books that were 3.5 stars, and I didn't really want to rate them higher or lower just because they were like very much in the middle. 1 4-star book and 1 5-star book. I read 6 adult books and 1 YA, 4 new releases and 3 backlist titles. 6 were new to me books and 1 was a reread. Although I did post a book haul in March, I didn't actually buy any books, so I managed to save some money. And now onto the books. The first book that I read and finished was The Nights Olivia Fell by Christina McDonald. This is a adult mystery, although it sort of verges on YA, I would say. It's about a mother and a daughter. The daughter falls from a bridge one evening and is then comatose. The doctors are about to pull the plug because she's declared brain dead, but then they discover that she's pregnant, so they have to keep her alive in order for the pregnancy to come to full term, because obviously they don't want to kill the baby as well. The mother then sets out trying to find out what happened to her daughter Olivia because she's convinced that it wasn't on purpose and it also wasn't an accident. She thinks that the mum pushed her daughter. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I did really enjoy it, but it wasn't really what I was expecting. I was expecting an adult mystery and this felt more YA. I also had trouble connecting to the mother and her point of view. In addition to that, the whole mystery wasn't all that good, which is obviously quite a big deal for a mystery book. However, I did really like Olivia and the way that she was portrayed and introduced to us in flashbacks, and I thought that was really well done, as well as the mother-daughter relationship between Olivia and her mother. So that was good, it was decent. It wasn't the best mystery or thriller that I've read. I was sort of surprised by the ending, but it was nothing shocking. The next book was my reread of the month, and that was The City of Frostbite by S.A. Chakraborty. You've heard me talk about this a million times. It's one of my favourite books I've ever read. I read it in January and then I decided to pick it up again for the rereadathon, which I failed at because I didn't finish this in time. I decided to read this again so I can annotate it, which I didn't do yet, and then hurry up and read The Kingdom of Copper. In case you don't know, this is an adult fantasy book. It's based around Middle Eastern mythology, specifically about jinn. Everyone tries to sell this book as being set in 18th century Cairo. I think it's not. It's we spend like the first couple of chapters in Cairo and then we move on to fantasy worlds. I love this book so much. I haven't yet done a review on it, but I will do, so look out for that in the near future. I've done whole reading vlogs on this, so I'm not going to go into this too much. It's 5 stars and I love it. The next book I read was also a fantasy book, and that was The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is an adult fantasy. It's set in a world where there is one big continent and islands off to the side of it. On this continent there are what are essentially earthbenders. They can control the earth and earthquakes and things, and these people are oppressed and other people are scared of them. All of these earthbenders are being controlled. The 3 main characters are all earthbenders, and we follow them in the aftermath of a massive earthquake that has affected the entire continent. A lot of people complain about the second person point of view in this book. One of the main characters tells her story in second person, so when the chapters mention you, they're talking about Essen, the character. To be honest, I didn't find that to be that jarring. I think that N.K. Jemisin did a really good job with writing that, and it was just a really creative way of telling Essen's story. There are a couple of twists in this book, neither of which I saw coming. I thought they were both really well done, and looking back on it I can see how some readers would probably have caught on a lot faster because the author really laid the groundwork. I thought she did a fantastic job with that. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I would almost bump this up to 4. It's just that the beginning took a long time to get into and it was a real struggle, but I'm hoping that the next books in the series will be easier because I'll already be used to the writing style and the world building and things. And considering the way that this book ended, I'm really curious to see how the sequels develop and what exactly the author's planning on doing there, because it can't be the same as this one because of reasons. I then read Watch Us Rise by Renee Watson. This was a review copy that I got for free and I didn't really like it. I gave this one 2 stars. It's a YA contemporary, the only YA contemporary that I read this month, and I thought it was written really poorly. This is supposed to be a feminist story about 2 girls who start a feminist club at their school. They face a lot of opposition, but they also get a lot of support from other teenage girls. And to be honest, I thought that the story was very simple. I think that the author didn't do a great job with tackling feminism. I think that the characters were far too aggressive and it was almost like a caricature of a feminist teenage girl. They brought up feminism in every single conversation that they were having and they got aggressive and angry about it, and that's all fine, except they didn't talk about anything else and nothing else happened. It was just one thing after another. I feel like it could have been weaved into the story, into a different story a bit more, or other things could have been weaved into this feminist story better. So that was a bit disappointing, so I was expecting to really enjoy it, but oh well. The 5th book I read was I Know You Know by Gilly Macmillan. This was another review copy that I got for free in exchange for a review. This is an adult thriller. I'd heard a lot about this one last year, so when I saw it on NetGalley I was really quite excited, but it didn't really live up to the hype. I gave this one 3 stars. This one has several different points of view, but essentially it's about an investigation into the murders of 2 young boys. They were murdered, I think, 20 years ago, and then the guy who was arrested for their murder kills himself, which obviously causes the media to bring it all up again. The friend of these 2 boys is now grown up and he starts a podcast, a true crime podcast that looks into the murder, and we follow this podcast and various other characters who were involved in the case, particularly the detective who played a huge part in having the murder suspect arrested and brought to trial. I would definitely think that the mystery could have been stronger, and I think that the ending was a bit of a letdown, which is why I've rated it so low. I think it felt very incomplete. It just really wasn't that interesting considering everything else that had been going on with the book, and I feel like the author had a lot of potential with this particular story. It just didn't work out very well, so that was quite disappointing, but I still enjoyed reading it and I read it quite quickly, so I gave it 3 stars. I then buddy read The Silent Patient with 2 friends, Amy and Steffi. We were originally going to read it over the course of a week, but we all ended up finishing it really quickly. Amy decided to fly through it in one day and then I did the same a couple of days later, and then Steffi shortly after me. I think that shows that it was a decent book. I gave it 4 stars. It's a debut for this year and everyone has been going on about it. It's an adult thriller about a psychotherapist who is determined to look into the case of this woman who allegedly killed her husband and then went mute for 6 years. Basically, the main character, the psychotherapist, is determined to make her talk again, and I was a little bit hesitant about this particular storyline because I thought it could have the potential to become like a male saviour storyline where he's determined to fix the broken woman, but thankfully it didn't turn out to be anything like that, which was good. It's quite a short thriller, but it was really easy to read and everything wrapped up really well, and I really liked the little clues that the author put in there and the way that everything came together in the end. I think he wove the story really well and I'm quite impressed. And finally, the 7th book that I read, or I'm currently still reading, is The Hunting Party by Lucy Foley. This is another adult thriller. This one also came out this year. It's about a group of friends who all met at Oxford University and they have their annual New Year's Eve party. This time they go into the Scottish Highlands, so basically into the wilderness. We find out very early on that one of them dies, but we don't know which one, and we obviously don't know who killed them. So the book is told in flashbacks of leading up to the incident and then also in the present day after some people have found the body. I'm really enjoying it so far. I think I'm probably going to give it 3.5 to 4 stars because it's told really well and I'm really invested in a lot of the characters. Even though they're not very likeable, I'm still enjoying reading about them. The whole rich people drama thing always gets to me, so I'm really enjoying that. So overall, it's not been the best reading month, but I've read some good books and one particularly fantastic one which was a reread. I really hope that April can be better, and also I'm hoping to have more time to record videos. March was a bit hectic in terms of free time, but hopefully April will be much better, especially because there's a few bank holidays coming up, so I should have a lot of time to film and read. Thank you for watching my video everyone, I'll speak to you in my next one. Bye!